Good evening. Happy Thursday. We're always here. Best stakes racing of the weekend, covered with EquinEdge. Oldy, welcome back. We had a good week last weekend. Had some guests. You and Scotty were out of town and busy, but we had Pimlico. Had some guests on. That was fun. But it's you and I again. I love doing this show just because we cover some of the great stakes races. A lot of times I feel like you can find opinion in these races, Oldie, though, right? And sometimes they can be key to horizontal or vertical bets, so you can have a little more, I guess, formful or opinion sometimes in a stakes race, I feel like.
For sure. And, sometimes you want to take an opinion there, and sometimes there are just the right plays for you too. So, and there's some interesting races this weekend. You have the Hollywood Gold Cup, which obviously used to be a much bigger race when Hollywood Park was still around, but
Mm-hmm.
um, that looks like a deep and exciting race with our old friend Skippy there.
Yeah. But happy Memorial Day for all veterans, right? Monday's a holiday. Great racing on Monday, actually.
For sure. And, we have, I believe, four graded stakes on Monday. Better racing really on Monday than on Saturday in terms of graded stakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's going to happen sometimes, however they card it, right?
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right. Thanks everybody for being here. Let's jump in. So, over at the Big A, they now are back on the turf. They have been for a bit. This is a pretty good one here. I thought was pretty competitive. I know you have some thoughts here in the Paradise Creek Stakes. Is this horse going to be the real deal? The EquinEdge Morning Line Oldie thinks the 9 is over, at 2-1 might be a little short. What do you think?
so the other metrics though like it. So it's
Yes.
24%. It's a silver badge. Um, I was reading you this note, but I have a note on it from the previous race that the move it made was a wow moment, huge move. It put this race away, one to keep an eye on. Now
Mm,
the negative here is obviously the move up in distance. The GSR goes down slightly there, but if the horse can show that kind of kick again, that this just might be this is not that good of a group that this could just be a move up that this horse can handle here for Clement. And he's keeping IRAD aboard. They're 27% to win. That this horse may be just as good at 6 as it is at 5 if nobody gets away on the front end.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I thought this race was fairly wide open. I can see your comment though, and I'm glad you have a note like that, and it obviously looked impressive. So you have a better note because I don't have one. I ended up landing on the 1 Super Swift Oldie. I mean, George Weaver Lascano gets back. Let's see, it's raining, looks like in New York currently, but he gets back to the turf, right, going 6, and had run back there early in the career, and then they were on the dirt in state bred. And, facing open company now could be a challenge, but I thought maybe getting back to the turf. I mean, these efforts has tactical speed. Looks fairly impressive. So that's where I landed, but I can't argue with your points on the 9. I mean, if you're getting around the 9, there's probably a few places you could land, but I landed on the 1 Super Swift.
Yeah, and I had the 1 in my second spot, and then the other horse I thought might have a chance was the 7 Supersonic Blue on the front end.
Yeah, a nice morning line angle too.
1-2 in a row for Drysdale. He does not very often ship to New York, so I thought this was an unusual move. Horse has gotten the lead the last 2 times and has gotten brave both times, and does have a win at 6 furlongs which was something I was interested as well as going down the hill. And the E morning line likes this one at 5-2 in
Yeah,
the
I saw
92
that.
morning line.
Nice GSR. I mean, nice 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I could see it. I ended up the only other horse that I kind of was assertiveness, Oldie, the second pick. I mean, second off the win for Fletcher. I mean, I think it's bred well. I mean, ran here, but did just get up, but I thought more would be more underneath. So I did like the one, but again, I can see your angle on the 9 and the 7. I didn't really see much past that other than well, actually, I forgot about this horse. So my second pick actually was the 8. Now that I look at this, it's another GSR angle.
Mhm.
Oldie, I mean, gets back to 6 furlongs in second time off of the layoff, and they obviously Brissett thought there was talent to debut there at Churchill, going 5.5. Fairly, I would say, similar to this group, right? And
Mhm.
got in that race on the synthetic and didn't run, but you could probably forgive that effort. Says broke short stopped, so not sure what happened, but the win only goes up a little bit. But the GSR was interesting for a lightly raced horse, I thought, and has shown talent, but also had trouble. Here on the rails, steadied, gave way. Here didn't run. So there's definitely been some bad efforts, but I thought maybe he could show up at a price, versus this group potentially. So that was where I actually had as my second pick.
Yeah. So, on this horse, what I see though is a horse I think hasn't been able to relax if it's not on the lead. And I'm not sure it's fast enough, you know, and wasn't at 5.5. I'm not sure it's going to be fast enough here to get the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it relaxes this time, and they were able to teach it to rate. But that's my concern, is it seems to back up when it doesn't have the lead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could see that. All right. I'm 1-8. I would say 9. Uh, where are you?
I'm 917.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going. We'll cruise through these today. We are going now Churchill Downs, race number 9. Stakes race. The Kirtana Stakes, 12 furlongs, Oldie.
Yeah, I thought this race was a mess.
I told you and for everybody,
Yep.
right when Oldie and I got on, I was like, oh man, some of these races were fairly competitive. I agree. I thought this was a tough one, but let's watch the race sim, maybe. I always like to sort by the pace number too, but so you have some speed. Morning line angle on Marksman Queen. Big top GSR as well.
Yep. But seems to be a perennial, I can't quite get home horse.
Well, and that looks like that could be trouble here based on the race sim.
Yep. But I think the
Well,
horse the race sim likes has that same issue too. And I
yeah,
looked at that horse as needing, as wasn't beating easier at a similar distance, and is moving up here. Um, so I landed on the 7 Boss Lady Bailey
okay.
for
One
Mike and his
last
maker.
out.
Yep. One last out, second off the layoff. It's Maker and Saez. Maker's 15% off the layoff. Um, this horse has, needs pace to run into, but when it gets it, it can be very dangerous. And, it did win at Saratoga in 2024. It hasn't won that often because it is pace dependent. But I think
Mm-hmm.
Marksman Queen and Dreaming of Mo might go fast enough that, that pace dependency might not matter here.
Yeah, you get Luis Saez as well.
Yep.
So I would agree with you, Oldy. This race was pretty difficult. I ended up landing on Strikingly Spun, the 4 horse.
Hmm.
Almost similar to your comments, Oldie, on horse like Tarnima, and we can talk about a couple of others, but the SOR on some of these was fairly low, but then you get Strikingly Spun comes for Joe Sharp and Jose out of Fairgrounds, Oldie, and those turf races came up all very strong. And at times that turf course, right, sometimes played to
Yeah.
speed, sometimes didn't. You also, has not gone 12 furlongs. And normally I like to look and, can I find somebody who's done something at the distance? You have the 6, 7, and 3. So that's always a benefit. But I did like I think that from a long perspective, I don't think that the 4 will have any trouble. And I would agree with you. I think that there's some pace up front, and I didn't necessarily trust it. And I thought that the 4 was the horse that might sit a good trip. I mean, if these look to be a lot tougher stakes races here than what now going to face at Churchill Downs. And Jose jumps aboard for the first time, Oldie. And that was a little bit surprising to me because he rode for Joe Sharp so much down at Fairgrounds. And I was like, well, they'll just team up elsewhere, and they team up here
Yeah.
at Churchill Downs. So in a race that I agree was a little bit tough, I thought for me, I was trying to find a horse here, and I thought I found one. I like probably the price. The morning line at E is really high, but in a race like this, I didn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, I mean that horse I think sits a similar trip to what I think Boss Lady Bailey is going to sit
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm actually shocked. I had a horse I thought you were going to have on top, and I'm actually shocked here. It's my second pick. The 3 Holy Foley, the Scotty Longshot there, because it's the
Yeah.
Scotty Longshot. I
I,
thought that
it's funny. I almost put this horse on top. So keep going.
just missed last time out against the 7 Boss Lady Bailey coming out of a common
Mm-hmm.
race.
Mm-hmm.
Um, broke ungodly slow, much slower than the horse normally does, and still almost fired off and won the race. So with a better break, the horse probably wins that race. And I think at 12 furlongs here, this horse has a big shot at 8-1.
She just net, but she always has trouble. But
Yeah,
but at 12, I mean, it is different, So, but I mean, she's always so far back. That that was my only concern, Oldie.
yeah,
Like she's so far sometimes. I mean, makes it so difficult for her to try to, like, she got up and won here, right? That
right.
that was my biggest concern, Oldie. Just okay, now this race shows up at kind of those same levels, and she just doesn't like to win. But
Yeah,
I mean, I can see it. It's not a bad long shot angle. So I think I had her third or fourth. I, on the flip side of the 4 Oldie and talking about SOR, I ended up putting the 2 second. But I wonder a little bit about, like, how is, this horse ends up winning the race sim, and she gets up late, but she's really going to have to improve. But I would say from a pace perspective, she needs speed as well. And I think Tarnima or Strikingly Spun are getting first jump. And so that's ended up really where I landed on those 2. I was 4-2. She is going to have to improve, though. That is very clear. I mean, she broke her maiden. She's a 4-year-old filly. She's somewhat lightly raced, right? So, and she
right.
hasn't been winning, but gets now over to Churchill. It comes from Gulfstream and Keeneland going 12 furlongs. I mean, they weren't bad efforts, but she didn't win, is the concern. But those were bigger fields, I think she had probably had some trouble here as the favorite. I think you have Brandon Walsh, you have Ben Curtis, who's been riding really well. He's a great turf rider. So that's where I ended up going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it could be any of these. The thing I see here is none of these like to win. Like that, this is like a non-winner for a lifetime or non-winner 3 lifetime race, and the 2 actually has the least number of wins in the field. The 6 is interesting as well because that horse at least has 2 wins at the distance. Granted, they're against easier, but
Well, yeah. I mean, couldn't, but it now comes from overseas. So, I mean,
yeah,
maybe finally got the win, but Le Mans rides. It's a tough one.
yeah,
Do you want to talk? I think we have one other horse, probably. I was 4-2-1.
yeah,
You're 7-3.
1.
Okay, why don't you talk about the one?
Dreaming of Mo. I mean, the question here, this horse really has been running shorter for Romans. Romans horses haven't been running well recently too, so there's that. But this horse did show in that handicap race on synthetic at Gulfstream that it could be a little more tactical. Um, was on the lead last 2 back on synthetic, then couldn't get the lead on the dirt. So I don't think this horse is a threat to win, but I think it can hold on for a piece potentially.
The double dog dare came back as an 80. That's pretty crazy, but it makes
Yeah,
sense. She just didn't run there on the dirt, but that was insanely tough race. So, she gets over to the 12 furlongs for the first time. I mean, she has hit the board in 9 of 16. So I thought she had it look. I mean, in a race like this, that's why I was four
yeah,
two one. Really, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, this was really one of the tougher races I know we'll look at because many of these could win, but she gets out to go longer now. I mean, but I also thought there was a lot of speed there, Oldy. I thought somebody might sit the trip. So,
yeah, for sure. And like I said, I don't think she wins. I think she could hold on for a third there.
okay. All right. We're gonna jump over to Gulfstream Park, jumping around a lot tonight. The big drama handicap, Oldie, race number 10. Going 7 furlongs. Let's watch the race sim.
And I like a big upset in the big drama.
Well, Dilger is a big favorite, so I would agree with you. I was looking elsewhere too. Shows Dilger right there at the stretch. Only 23% to win, though.
Only 23% to win. Really, from a class standpoint, isn't all that great here.
Yeah, I mean, beat is 64, but it's burned some money at 58s and 60s.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. All right, where'd you land?
I landed on the 1 pure class for David Fox uh, with Edwin aboard.
I put that
Only
horse second, so I like it. I thought that horse had a shot too. Let's hear it.
only carrying 117 pounds, by the way. Since this is a handicap,
Handicap.
gets,
Mm-hmm.
gets a 6 pound advantage on Dilger. The 6-1 on the E morning line tells me the E morning line thinks something here. This horse wins over 7. So if you go back to that 7 furlong race at Tampa, it beat a group identical to this. Did I lose you?
Oh, here. Yes.
There we
In
go.
the yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, there you look at the 3:24:24 race, and, it beat a group better than this in the sophomore, which was a state bred stakes. This is an open. And, this horse hasn't been all that consistent, but this is kind of where its class level has been. It has multiple wins at 7 furlongs, and I think it can sit the trip here. It needs to be only a couple lengths back and stalk, and it should be able to do that from the 1 hole, which is, as you know, a good spot to be at Gulfstream going 1 turn here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree. Came out of claiming protected there. Fox didn't get claimed. Somebody could have maybe had a nice claim, but still thinks that he has talent. So I thought that this race was really competitive, Oldie, because I thought you could beat Dilger. And
Yeah,
I saw that Edgar Zayas is back riding for Safi. He hadn't been riding for Safi, and it was kind of various jockeys have been riding for Safi
yeah,
from Mika Husbands, and then Arietta was in town and tried to ride for him for a bit. And so when I saw that, I was like, well, okay, well, I'm going to the other Safi of Revolution. And it's another jockey who's in town. This time it's Rocco Bowen.
yeah.
Rocco
Uh,
Bowen used to ride over here at Emerald Downs, and he's actually a great jockey. And as he's been in and out of riding, Oldie, I know, and he's had some injuries, but he's been back for the last couple of years and then been riding. He reminds me a little bit of Paco. It seems like he travels around quite a bit, but he gets really good mounts.
yeah.
And I know in the race sim, Oldie, so there's the 2 and 6 there. But I'm not so sure when you look at Air Combat, this horse really going to get the lead. And I'm hoping that, Rocco going to walk the dog up on the front and get to the front. I mean, has not had the lead. But when Safi has two, Oldie, there's something to
Oh,
be, said here. Go ahead.
yeah. So I think he's 1,000% sending of a revolution to try to set this up for Dilger, which
But
is why
but
I didn't use of a revolution here.
so but I think the two might be because I don't think any. I think he's smart. If Rocco goes, and Jaramillo's right here. I think Jaramillo will be aggressive, but I don't think Jaramillo going to go for the lead. Maybe he will. If they both duel, yes,
Yeah,
maybe Dilger can win the race, but I still think you could beat Dilger. But I didn't necessarily think there could be a lot of pace. And only I just say that from it, as a pace square. I know the race sim has the 6 kind of right up there, but I'm just not sure anybody's going to press for the lead because many of these don't need the lead. And so when I looked at that and they're on the Gulfstream dirt, I thought he might get loose up front. And so that's where I landed on of a revolution, and the win percents were kind of wide open. So Zayas gets off of a revolution, but yeah, that's where I landed. But I don't agree with Pure Class, your top pick. Who was your second pick?
Con Campanata, Campania, the
Oh,
7, the
the
long
Scotty
shot.
long shot.
Yeah, I mean that one seems to be a deeper closer though. Um, Granted, the last time at 7 furlongs wasn't that far back, but and it's just missed in the previous race. It's at 7 here for Sanchez. The GSR is terrible, but we're being a Chilean bred. I'm not that surprised that this horse isn't getting picked up with a big GSR either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Let's see here. And then I thought Dilger maybe had a look, but I still thought he could beat Dilger. So I was 2-1-3, Oldie. I agree with Pure Class. I thought you had a good angle there with Edwin riding. I yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you. So, I liked, and the race was pretty competitive, but I was 2-1-3.
and I was 176 there.
Dude, do you want to talk about, what's
We
thoughts on
kind of
air
talked.
combat?
Well, air combat, is tactical, is won 4 in a row. The question is for me is the class here. This is the class and the distance, but this is a move up in class, moving Barnes to D'Angelo as well. So the question for me though is more around, you know, can this horse stay close enough to of a revolution to win? And if it does, is it classy enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the two is won a 72 allowance at Gulfstream, then went to Oaklawn, right? I mean this horse pretty
Yeah,
classy, so that's again I thought of a revolution could get loose, so But Jaramillo always aggressive. So Mike, good to see you. I hope you had a good show today. And
Yeah.
Paul, there's comments from Oldy on the 6 air combat. All right, Oldy, I am 213, and you are
7-6.
176. Okay. All right, we're going to the next over to Monmouth Park, and we had Mr. Dinnerman on the previous show last Thursday, Oldie. He
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like in the coaching class and he was announcing at Finger Lakes. And so I was like, wait, why were you up at Finger Lakes? He said he was driving from Oakland up to Jersey and they needed somebody to help fill in for a bit. And I saw they had a new track announcer now, but he said he filled in for a couple days and then he drove back down to Monmouth Park.
Yeah, their track announcer had some sort of health issue.
Yeah, that's what he
Here.
said. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
All right. We Monmouth Park race number 9, the Cliffhanger Stakes.
Yeah, so another pretty wide open race. I did think I'm interested to see if we end up in the same place here. So I ended up on the 3. There are no words. This horse is the Scotty Longshot. It has a 22-point pace advantage. If you go back and look at the Oceanport when it got the lead, and as well as the Red Bank where it just missed here, going 8, it's run some really good races on the lead, and coming off the layoff for Spina, it might be fresh and ready to fire here, and just be able to get away against these. Was my thought at 5-1. I didn't like the morning line, but other than that, I like most things about this horse.
I mean, being a New Jersey bred, so raced here last year in the same similar situation, right? And that was a 68 in the Cliffhanger, nearly hung on, Oldie.
Yes, exactly. My thought as to why I thought maybe here with almost no speed in this race that it could hang on.
Yeah, that's a quite a high number because when you look at highest distinction, right? I mean, this horse probably doesn't need the lead. They've been close to the lead, but it doesn't seem like that works out, right? I mean,
right.
It seems like best races have been off the pace. And then, I thought that here, let me sort that again. So when we watch the race sim, it takes them a very long way, right? Still there at the stretch. The 5 kind of takes over, and they have the 1 flying, Oldie, right?
Yeah.
You don't see that all the time. So Forever Super, Trombetta, Gallardo rides, 1 win, should have won. I thought had been facing really well, nearly won here in a 66. Here one, but also burn money. So you don't like to see that, right? So I agree with you there. Can you beat the 5? Yeah, maybe. Then I looked at the 1, and 1 is 66 and a 68 for Shug coming off the pace, but maybe there's enough speed here that the 1 can get up. So then the only other horse I looked at was the 4. And is Chad, is Sammy. So I was really between these two, Ollie. I'm not sure the 1 gonna get up. And I didn't like the 5 very much. So I was really between the 3 and 1. I don't have a huge preference. I think I'm going to land on the 1, though. But I like your angle. I would be probably 1, 3, 4.
Okay, so we're on the same horses, just in different order. I'm 3, 1, 4 here. I think the 4 has a little class proving to do here. It's Chad Brown, so it's going to get backed. You're not going to get 4-1 on this horse. But the 1's going to go.
He's nice though, right? Gets into stakes now, been facing a lot. But they obviously, when they came to to Belmont, he had a lot of hope racing in 74s. So
And I think the one goes off. I can't see you getting 5-1 on the one either.
yeah,
Off
I
those two wins, it's going to turf.
the one's gonna take a lot of money. I'm guessing 5-2, 3-1 would be. I
Yeah,
mean, one back to back. These were nice races too. So I'm not sure the pace is there, Oldie.
for sure. And I look at the five, and I think it had those three races in a row, but two were on synthetic. So it really like only has one good turf race, and it was going longer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in this shoot here, and kind of at a disadvantage because it's going to kind of get crushed there a little bit potentially, especially since it's been breaking slow lately as well. Yeah, to me that's why I threw the five out there and landed on the 3, 1, and 4.
I just don't, Yoldi, usually like seeing horses not only lose as the favorite, but lose in 66s. That that was
Yeah,
my biggest concern. I mean, these just seemed like they were easier races and couldn't get up and win here. And then here, didn't necessarily run a great race. But I mean, maybe gets back to 8.5 is like the answer. I don't know. I mean, could
yeah.
be, I guess. For Trump. I mean, has run the best races there, so maybe that's the angle on the 5. Okay. But I don't disagree with you on there are no words. Could get loose,
Yeah,
could walk the dog up front. Definitely has a shot for sure.
cool. All right. So 3, 1, 4 for me, and 1, 3, 4 for you, I believe.
Yeah, yes, I'm putting the one on top. I just think this horse is classy. I am a little bit worried about the pace, but I'm putting 1-3-4. I'm going 1-3-4.
All right.
All right, we are now headed to Santa Anita. Probably some of the best racing of the weekend,
Yeah.
Oldie. I mean, on Saturday they have a handful of state bred stakes. The first one being the Thor's Echo for 3 and up, going 6 on the dirt.
Yeah, and I thought this was a pretty, and we can watch the race soon, but I thought this was a pretty evenly matched race too.
Yeah, it's very competitive. You can see that in the win percents too, right?
For sure, yes. All but the 4, pretty much it looks like has a chance in terms of the win percentage. But if you want to beat Booksmart, you better hope the 4 goes with the 3
Yes,
there.
you need some speed up front to put some pressure on Booksmart. I mean, it looks like it's there, Oldie.
Yeah.
I mean, the horse looks fast. I think that there might be too much speed here, but what were your thoughts?
I did too. I landed on the second pick, Private Gem, even with the bad GSR there. This horse
Yeah.
at 7 furlongs nearly won a similar state bred stakes. And it did not seem like it was a matter of being turf versus dirt. It just was a slightly better group than it had been facing on turf there. So I think coming back to dirt here, this horse should be fine. It's going to get pace, hopefully, to run into and, pull a slight out upset. So I actually liked the 2 on top, as a potential single in the early pick 5.
Yeah. I I mean the horse definitely looks to be bred for turf. I'm taking Final Storm the long shot, Oldie, mainly because in a race like this, when I looked at this race, it looks like there's so much speed, and I'm not even sure about some of the others with all of that speed. And I mean, won a 70 for D'Amato, two back at 6.5. Has only raced once at 6. So, but did win there in a 60, looked good. I mean, you obviously here on the turf didn't run.
Hmm.
So, but I would toss that effort, I mean, for whatever reason, but in races like this, Oldie, where I don't have a strong opinion, a lot of times I'll end up almost landing on the long shot because of that, just because I will eliminate quite a few horses. I just didn't like the speed up with Booksmart, and I wasn't sure that some of these could really sit off and come and win at this level. I mean, many are
Yeah.
coming, the 5 coming from State Bred Allowance was open company and didn't run versus easier. I mean, ran, but didn't win. The 6 won only above, that was a 56 and then
Yep.
didn't run in a 68. And that was State Bred. This horse might need to be closer to the base. I think the 2 has a shot. And then I looked at the 1 and I wanted to really horse Oldy. I really did. And then I would probably put it as my third pick. I'd be 7-2-1. But it's 23% though, Oldy. Like, is this the horse that's going to get the trip for Kyle Frey? But that's a big step up and couldn't
Yeah.
win. So, but that's why I landed on the 7 because I'm like, the 7 at least kind of coming from some tougher races, won a race 2 back, is going to be coming late. There's going to be a lot of speed. So that's kind of how I got to the 7. It's really far back at the stretch is my concern, which is why I could see why you have the 2, but that's where I landed.
All right. So I underneath I landed with the 3 and the 4. I think one of them possibly holds on for a piece there, and I'm not entirely convinced that the 4 is not better than the 3. The back form on the 4 for Peter Miller. There, the trainer change worries me a little bit, and the horse hasn't run well as of late. But does have a win against at Oaklawn in the slop, and probably against a better group with more horses in it than this group. I just thought that horse might be faster than the 3 and might be classier. I'm just not sure with the trainer change whether that's going to matter.
Yeah.
But I kind of like a 2-4 exacta, straight exacta there.
I just this horse seems too cheap to me, but I mean 162s, but then I mean just never ran Oldie. I mean been running at Oaklawn and Turf Paradise. I mean then they even went to Los Al to win a race. I
Yeah.
just wait, that's what I just I'm like, okay, you couldn't have been. I mean, you're going over to run that in allowance, not a great purse. And I was like, well, you weren't, you were hoping the speed was going to do the trick there. I just thought this horse might be cheap, and I'm hoping it puts a ton of pressure on the 3. But that's for me. We see the race, I think, a little bit similar,
Yeah.
but a little bit different. But there is a lot of if there's a lot of speed there, it could leave this thing fairly wide open on a horse like the 1. That's why I wanted to really like that horse. I put it in my top 3 picks for sure. So, but all right, I'm 7-2-1. You're 2-3-4.
Yep.
Okay, another State Bred Stakes race number 6. The Franz Valentine Stakes for fillies and mares, 3 and up, Oldie. There's a horse named Sneaker in this race.
He's
I
kind of
thought,
sneaky, I guess. But
yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts?
well, I'm gonna prance through Paris with Prancing Through Paris as my top pick, the 3 horse there. I thought this horse could rate a little bit for Erden. It's 1 going down the hill, it's 1 at 8 for going a mile, it's going back to a mile, 1-2 in a row. Um, you know, big and competitive. since moving to the turf, 1-2 of 4 since moving to the turf. I think probably wants to go longer, so I think probably the move back to a mile is a good move here. So that's where I landed. I realize it's chalk. I realize it's 2-1 and 8-5 on the morning line, and 23% to win.
I feel like Ashley's Sandcastle's been running for a long time, but she only a 5-year-old mare. All right,
Yeah,
you like prancing through Paris. Have you ever been to Paris, Oldie?
I have not, no, and I've definitely
You,
never pranced there.
I have been there, but I was not prancing. That's funny. I we spent a lot of time in wine country when I was in France. It was a good spot. I
Nice.
I preferred like Italy wine country, but I liked France wine country too. It was fun. And spent a little bit of time in Paris. Not I've only been there once. I've been there twice actually. But I land on sneaker, Oldie. I mean, has the experience, has hit the board in 8 of 12 races, and has a big GSR's the top pick. So for Papa Padromo, Oldie, the last race that she won was on the lead, and
Yeah,
has not been on the lead, was way off the lead. They, last out in the grade 3, and, was checked, ranked early, had trouble. They probably were going to the front. Well, in the proprietary races, she was between on the rail. She kind of came up, and then 2 back. She kind of led at the end. So she's going to do her best running on near the lead, right? I mean,
right.
100% like. So, and then I looked here, Oli, and I watched the race sim, and the 3 is going to be right up there as well, right? So I think the
Yep.
2 of these are likely your players, right? Prancing through Paris, but who's going, right? Who wants the lead? Who needs the lead? Who's going to get the lead? But I just found it funny because I think you and I are we're very similar in this race from how he plays out, but I would take the 1 over the 3 for me. Um, the price going to be short. The 3 doesn't show up in the picks, and that was my biggest concern. But I also thought from the 1, has run well at 8. Oldie has run really well at Santa Anita. That last out effort in a 68 was fine. I thought it was great. So, I thought it was probably between those 2 for me. I did look at one other horse, but I agree with you on 3, but I put the 1 on top.
I have the 1 in third, and in my second spot, and we say this all the time, but it's the other Papadromo that gets you when there's 2
Yeah.
Papadromos in these races.
Yeah.
And one of the things that caught my eye about Shocking Gray was that JJ's aboard,
Mm-hmm.
and he's ridden this horse one other time uh, when it was in the Mullins barn, and
Yeah.
he's climbing back aboard here, and I'm assuming he had the choice there of either Papadromo or also the 3. Peter Urton uses him a bunch too. But I thought Shocking Gray might sit the trip if they go too fast here. If the 1 and 3, both go too fast. And I was looking at this as maybe the ones here to rabbit as well a little bit for the 6.
Yeah. I could see it for sure. I know the win percents are fairly wide open, but I landed pretty heavily around 1 and 3 Oldie. So I think I'm just going to stick there. I think it's one of those for me in this race. I'd probably try to narrow if I was playing tickets here, I think for me. So, but I do like sneaker a little bit more than prancing through Paris, but
Okay.
Mike liked the 6 too. So he's
Yeah.
on the 6 with you.
Yeah. So I am the three six
Go ahead.
one.
You're 3-6-1. Okay, then I'm
Yes.
1-3. And Mike, I probably agree with you. I think that Italy wine country might be better than France. I would agree with you. I spent 2 weeks in wine country, Oldy, in Italy. It was incredible. Uh, that was a lot of fun. Like rented a car and drove it around. I ended up getting a ticket.
Awesome.
I got back to the States and I got this random ticket in the mail. It was like, wait, what? It's like a camera. I didn't even know why. I think I went down the wrong street at the wrong time. All right, we're gonna keep rolling. The Malaire Stakes. It looks like race number 7. Me So Fancy shows up here, Oldie. I don't know if Me So Fancy gonna be fancy though, but they're going 8.5 on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. State bred. There's more speed here, the 4 and 6, Oldie, but win percents show, the lowest is 5%, the highest 34 in Almond Joy, but the 6 out there on the lead, and then they all kind of start coming, right?
Right. And the 6 is going to be winging it, but I think the 6 has a chance to hang on there. I mean, almost did last time out, going 5.5. Maybe able to carry that speed going 2 turns here. Fibonicus ride, I guess is how you pronounce it. But there just didn't look like there's a lot of speed, and I thought this was a kind of race that anybody could win. I though looked at the Doug O'Neill horse, and it doesn't look like it's been able to continue on when it doesn't get the lead. So I was going off the theory of if it breaks slower, the 6 is faster, this horse might just stop and not press, and the 6 might get an easier lead than you expect. There. So that's where I landed on top, was the 6.
Fibonicus ride?
Sure, I'll go with that.
The
Your
one
guess
thing
is
I would
just
say,
as good as
Oldie,
me.
no, yeah. The one thing I would say is a lot of times I like to look at the race sim at the stretch, Oldie, and then look also at the finish, because that's quite a lead there of 2 lengths. And and then I go back to the first call and you kind of look at going deep, and this horse probably needs the lead, and then you have Fabonicus ride also has speed, so it's going to be interesting up front. I ended up landing on Me So Fancy. I know the GSR drops from off the turf to the dirt, but that was the biggest concern. But ran here well. When GSR plus, it is less, but ends up on top on the picks, Oldie. And I could see maybe one of these horses on the speed doing well, but closing, I really struggled between the 7 and 3, Oldie. I mean, 1 a 60 and a 64. I'd probably land maybe on the 3. I'm gonna land on the 3, Oldie. I mean, mainly I think because of the surface switch. I just think somebody coming off the pace, and the 3 horses made it look easy. I don't know that the trainer is it Aggie Ordonez, but I mean it's probably one of the nicer horses, I would say. So
Yeah.
I mean, and it's right there on the race sim with the 7. You don't see a lot of these double blue arrows winning, but I think at the price, I'd probably land on Almond Joy just from a better price, will be.
Well, it has nuts and mounds don't.
Yeah.
But so you went through my 2nd and 3rd picks there. I'm 7 and then 3 after the 6, but my long shot play here is the 1 Lady Mendelssohn, who I think could get first run and is moving to dirt for the first time. And the GSR goes up and gets Barrios there. If the 6 and the 4 stop, the 1's going to get first run at a nice price, and I think have a big shot there.
I could see it. Yeah, I mean, lightly raced, right? She
Yep.
could keep improving. Gets, and got probably a lot out of this race as first time after facing winners. So Carla obviously has a lot of hope. Obviously looks to be working well as well. So,
Yeah.
all right. So you are 6. No, you are.
Seven. I'm 6, 7, 3, 1.
Okay. All right.
I rarely take 4 horses, but I did there.
And I would be 3-7-2 maybe. Nah, I'd say 3-7 Oldy. I'd be narrow there again. Similar. I just used 2.
All
Okay.
right.
We're gonna finally get to the turf, or back to the turf. And Mike, I also was in Tuscany. We'll have to catch up on that sometime. That was a lot of fun. So Kings River Night, Oldie.
That might
And
best bet of the card.
I mean 47% speed, state bred, right? I mean,
Hmm.
bred all day, been facing much, much tougher. You can clearly see it just here, right on the SOR. Has the silver badge. Oldie, that's 7 metrics.
Yes. And if you look there, that you do have that race going down the hill that it won not on the lead too. It's won a couple actually stakes races
Yeah.
not on the lead. So it's fast, but doesn't necessarily need the lead. I think we'll be able to relax. Second off the layoff, you know, JJ and Sadler, they're 23% together. I just think that this horse towers above this field. This
So,
is like a 58 field if that horse isn't in it.
I mean, 5 for 5 at the distance, Oldie. Have done nothing wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I look at horses like the 5, 7, and 2 who have not really been successful in low win percents. So that when I get in using EE, Oldie, you see that you're like, okay, can I find a good angle here to have really a horse I love best on the card? I mean, what I would say, this happened the other day at Gulfstream. I mean, and I did a video that day, and this is my best bet, probably a short price. I think went off at 4 to 5, but it still is like in sports, it's not awful. Like if that's the bet, it's the bet, right? And you
Yeah.
take the bet. So I thought I agree with you, Oldie. I think Kings River Night could be a single. When you look at all the SORs, I mean, it's just been dominating. You look at Stamp My Passport, a 52, right? To your point,
Yeah.
Takes 3 has been facing kind of similar, but not really winning or running. I mean, and then you look at the 6 has been winning, but versus way easier. I mean, has been
Yep.
running nicely. Barrios rides. I did put this horse obviously underneath, but maybe is in it'd be the exacta play, right? For me, Oldie, it'd be maybe
Right.
4/6. And I'll let you talk about one more, but I agree with you on Kings River Night.
No, I mean, the 6 was my second pick there but underneath, I think the 4 is winning this race. The other one I liked that I thought could possibly hang on for second or third is the 2 at 7-2, but I don't really like the horse. I kind of just chose it to choose a third pick there. I mean, it's going to be running late because that's what it does. And I just don't think there's enough speed here for it to get up. It's over 6 at the distance with 2 seconds and a third.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Kings River Night finds an easy spot, and you just take the price of what you're going to get. So, all righty, sir. We are now headed to race 10.
Race 10.
One more at Santa Anita. Great card on Saturday, Oldie.
For sure.
And then we'll talk about their Memorial Day racing here shortly as well. But the Snow Chief Stakes, going to run the race sim here to start. Have some GSR droppers, some low win percents. Oldie, the pace number here on the 2 was high, but then on the race sim, the 3, 5, and 6 all ended up being in the lead, even though the
Yeah.
two had a pace square.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And I didn't love this two horse at all here. I didn't think it really wants turf and wants to go long. So for me, maybe what the race sim's thinking is that to have a chance to get the distance, they're going to have to rake that horse.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, where'd you land?
I landed with the 6 Cali Cat on top, the top pick, top win percentage, and top GSR. Granted, its one win was against 54s, but it did almost beat a 68 group going down the hill. And again, it's Sadler and Hernandez. It's 37%. The GSR still loves this horse at 8. It has a win at 8 already. Horse is tactical. I just thought this horse might be better than this group.
So many of these, Oldie, I agree with you, either don't want the surface or distance or don't fit. And
Right.
so that's when I first looked at this. And so you have the 5 and 6, I thought fit. I ended up not liking the 2 style cat. And so I was like this. I immediately, whoops, the 7, 8. So I narrowed here pretty quick, Oldie. I really
Yeah.
like, it didn't. And then I saw this and then I was like, well, oh yeah, I don't like you either. So that's how I landed. And it's, and we could obviously bring these back. That's how, when I looked at it, because I think a lot of them
Yeah.
don't want the distance, right? And I'm not sure Style Cat, and I don't know, does this horse even want turf? Does it want to go long? I mean, I think it probably turf, maybe. But you could say that about, look at the 7, Oldie. I mean, the GSR drops. Is it really going to want to go long? The 8, it drops. Is it really going to want to go long? The 1 drops a ton on the move to turf, right? I
Yep.
mean, so then you look, and those are the top 2 picks, right? You look at Cali Cat, 1 of 44 and a 54, has a big GSR, ran really well in a
Mm-hmm.
68. You look at Bro, run a 48 or 1 of 48, main special, then 1 of 54, keeps improving through the ranks. It's between them two, in my mind, Oldie.
Well, I thought the picks had it. I thought the 7's the other one that we know wants the distance. We just don't know if it has the class to win. And it may, if the 6, 5, and 2 and 3 all go fast, the 7 might get the setup there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a good point. I agree with you. So I'm glad that you said that, because even though the GSR drops, right, some,
Yeah.
this horse could, and there's the 10 furlong. So I appreciate you saying that. It's between those 3. So the Scotty picks have it nailed, I would
Yeah.
say. I ended up landing on Bro, Oldie. Umberto rides for Doug O'Neill. But it's like a coin flip for me, so I'd be 5, 6, and 7 would be how I would see it.
Well, and I think Mike Salata might know the numbers a little better, but I feel like Doug O'Neill's horses haven't been running very well.
Okay.
As well. So I've been discounting him a little bit because of that as well. But
yeah, no, it's but
yeah.
hey, this could be Oli. There could be a race to play like a cold try. In all honesty, you
Yeah,
know what I
or
mean?
this could, if you like the 6 or the 5, you could play a cold. Um, you could in theory play a 4 all 6, 5, 7 pick 3 here, or a 4 all 6 pick 3 here.
Mm.
Depending on where you want to end up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, for
'Cause
sure. Yeah, it's a good sequence. I agree with you.
yeah, or if there's a pick 5, pick 6 carryover or something like that coming into there, that there's possibly two singles or two places you could go really narrow within this sequence. Maybe even more than that. So that just a little bit of a thought there.
Yeah, no, I like it. Whether you're horizontal or verticals, I think good angles in both. All right, are we jumping to Memorial Day, or are we? Because this was Saturday.
Yeah, why don't we jump to Memorial Day here?
All right, we got 4 on Monday, 1 at Church Oldy, and then we'll do 3 at Santa Anita.
All right.
Grade 3, the winning colors stakes, 250,000. Hope Road, well known, and Too Sharp, well known. There's some others
Mm-hmm.
in here though, Oldie. Let's watch the race sim, and looks like both of those we talked about likely going to show some speed, and the others, the 6 probably doesn't fit, right, Oldie? I mean, Miss
Right.
Arlington probably a bit outclassed.
Yeah, didn't like that one at all. I tossed that one immediately. I think Easy Rod probably doesn't fit either. The
Yes,
4 horse.
agreed. But the 7 Hope Road, Oldie, wins fairly easily. But where'd you land?
So I landed on one you haven't mentioned yet. I landed on the 1 Bright Work for John
Okay.
Ortiz and John Velasquez, the John and John combination. Won the grade 1 spin away at Saratoga in 23. That they've had trouble keeping this horse on the track, but when it's run fairly well and run against very good groups. So I kind of liked Ortiz off the layoff here with this horse. He's 13% off the layoff. Um, you know, this horse shouldn't have a problem at 6 furlongs. And this horse has shown the ability to rate, which I liked here with Hope Road and Too Sharp in there, who I think may both need the lead and need to be go pretty fast there. I thought Bright Work, even though it has a nice pace number, has shown the ability to get home in the past from a stalking trip, which I thought is where you're going to need to be here.
So I agree with you, but I landed on a different horse.
All right. Where did you land here?
I landed on Mink's Palace. I mean, I just get rid of the Oaklawn Keeneland races. I mean, this horse obviously loves Churchill. I mean, had some trouble in the winter. You can see with the layoff lines, but one last out at stakes for Eddie and Jose riding in Kentucky, 1 of 72 there. I mean, these were, as a 3-year-old, sorry, she's now 4. I mean, these were impressive, Oldie. Nice allowance wins. This obviously kind of ran really well, and then they came back and won. But I mean, this was problematic. But the Raven Run went 7 at Keeneland. My guess, probably not the greatest trip. I mean, I know that was tough, but you look here, probably not great. And then didn't run here, but I'd forgive these. I love seeing the win already off the layoff. I mean, Eddie, 25% I'm not surprised, second off the layoff. So I just thought there was a little bit quite a bit of speed. I agree on a stocking trip, but I land on the 8.
I did not have the 8 in my list at all. The other horse I had there, so I had Hope Road in second, and then I had Into Champagne for Ian Wilkes with Julian aboard.
Bomber.
Yeah, as my third pick there.
How come you're not on the? Well, you are. You said I was going to say I figured you would have Hope Road somewhere in your picks. That's your second pick, and then Into Champagne, big price for Wilkes.
But just missed in the Devona Dale, was decent in the Gulfstream Oaks. Obviously got creamed by Torpedo Anna and the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah,
Is third off the layoff here. Has done its best running again, another horse that's done its best running from a stalking trip. And, I think could get that trip here from as well. And maybe not to win, maybe to finish second or third here.
Okay. Yeah. I think the favorite, I like Mink Spouse just from the similar perspective of you're trying to beat Too Sharp and Hope Road as well. Maybe Hope Road is going to be tough here. That'd be where I'd land as my second pick.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I'm going to say something that I don't think that Too Sharp finishes even in the money. I think this horse has not shown the level of class that some of these others have, and it also needs the lead. I'm just thinking this horse, with this big of a step up against horses that have run against much better, that this might be too big of a step here for Too Sharp.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that Bauer gets him ready. I mean, she won last out with blinkers and was flying, right? So
yeah,
it's gonna be hot up front. They're gonna be speed up there with Hope Road for Mr. Bobby Baffert, and has flow riding, Oldy. I mean,
yep. I don't
it's
think I've ever seen that.
Yeah. wait. We got his.
I'm right. At least not in the last year.
It's not happened in the last year, man. Oh man. All right. You are Bright Work on top, the one over Hope Road, and I'm Mink's Palace over Hope Road. So
yep.
You're 172 and I am 87. All right. We got three more. Big day of racing, Oldie, over at Santa Anita on Memorial Day. And 3 graded stakes. We're going to start in the Gamely first. And Be Your Best. I see I have a note. We'll check that out later. Safi Joseph Irad in town on Monday to ride. Going 9. And let's watch the race sim. So 2 and 8, obviously going to be out there, probably up front. Oldie, Be Your Best. Has a 2-1 E morning line. The beauty of EquinEdge, Oldie, we have our own morning line, so we can see here.
For sure. And the E morning line definitely likes Be Your Best here.
Public Assembly, though, win the race sim. What were your thoughts?
I was all over Be Your Best here. I think second off the layoff, I think that Jenny Wiley was a very good race, and you're getting 4 points of SOR class relief here. I think that this horse is going to set a similar trip to those last 3 races before the layoff, just sitting right off the speed here, because that's what it typically does. And we'll just pounce coming around the turn and blow these away.
So she won back 3 in a row here, Oldie. What happened here off the layoff, though?
I think that group might have been a little too good. Yeah, too tough. And also they went very fast that day at Keeneland. They went like 22 something.
Yeah, flying on the turf.
Yeah, that they were winging it. Also, she might have not liked the moisture in the turf too. I mean, you go back and look, and her best runs seem to be on firm turf.
She's not in the picks, though.
Yeah. Irad's coming in to ride here for Safi. They're 30%. I took that as another sign that, that this was a live horse, because Irad could have been on any of these once he got here, because he's here to ride Skippy
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
My
Kathy was
my
able to
biggest
maintain it.
throw, or the I there maybe not throw. My biggest kind of, let's say, wrench. Let's use the term wrench. The biggest. I'm like, why is the 8 not in the picks? It like blew my mind. But and then also, or the on the race sim, the 4 wins easy.
And I just thought the 4 was not classy enough for this group.
Well, but it's lightly raced. Or the I
Yeah, for
mean,
sure.
I'm landing on the 4. That's kind of why. I mean, former Chad Brown, but obviously D'Amato Fraser rides, which is great. And he's been aboard. I mean, won a 60 and a 68. I just thought this horse can improve. I mean, has won fairly easily in both these efforts. Won at 8, won at 10. Not going to win at 9. Grade 3 winner, right? I
Mhm.
beat her best as a shot. I can't. I'm really surprised, really. This horse either is not in a better spot on the race sim or wasn't in the picks. That was my only knock.
Well,
Because
I'll
it,
tell you. So I didn't like the public assembly at all. I didn't use the horse at all. And, I thought if Be Your Best doesn't win, it's because they go too fast. And then I preferred the 7 and the 1 closing to the 4.
yeah, I was also looking at the 5, no show Sammy Joe. But talk to me about the 7.
Uh, Lagaria, for another former Chad Brown in the McCarthy barn. We've seen how well McCarthy's training right now. That this horse ran well in the megahertz and then won the Buena Vista, stretches out in distance. GSR stays the same, keeps Rispoli aboard there, coming off the layoff. The horse is working well. And, I think that this horse is the best closer in my mind in this group
All
between the
right.
4,
Well,
1, and 7.
I like the 5 too. No show Sammy Joe. That would be my second pick, Oldie. I'd try Be Your Best. But I thought, I mean, Flavian Rides, also lightly raced, 5-year-old mare. She's, been going through the
Mm-hmm.
ranks. She didn't win that grade 3 at the Big A going 11, but, gets to 9 furlongs. She won a 9 at Laurel. That last out effort, to your point, was too tough, right, Oldie? Similar
Right.
to Be Your Best. So in the Jenny Wiley. But first off, the layoff for Graham. Second off, it's 14%. So just the same. But Flavian takes them out, Oldie. And I mean, rode 2 back, nearly won. So, that'd be where I'd land, and then Be Your Best be my third pick. So I'd be 4, 5, 8.
And I'm 8-7-1, but the more I look at it, I think Be Your Best wins this pretty easily.
Okay. All right, we got 2 more. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We got race number 8, the Hollywood Gold Cup, Oldie. And Skippy shows up here. Let's watch the race sim. Gonna be short price, 1 to 2.
Yeah. Seems about right if you look at this group.
Yeah.
I mean, Tarantino finished how many? Almost 25 lengths behind Skippy in the long shot, behind Skippy in the Oaklawn handicap that neither of them won. Pax a Wallop this is a huge step up in class. Midnight Mammoth, same thing. The Dan Blacker horse, even bigger step up, but has stepped up before and not looked good. And then the 6, I mean, you can pretty much throw most of these out. I
Yeah.
really think this is about Skippy. And if the only question for me is whether Skippy is still the same horse and still has, the same left in the tank. Maybe Pax a Wallop. takes to the dirt and, is able to surprise. But I think Skippy sits the trip here and just gets a group that's tailor made in one of those grade twos that Skippy tends to dominate.
So you have Tarantino up front. I mean, Oldy, so Tarantino and Paxawala. I mean, Paxawala need the lead.
I mean, almost won last time out on the turf going 10 furlongs, not on the
Mm-hmm.
lead.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always translate to dirt.
I mean, this horse hasn't won in forever. It didn't. Not, it was off
Yeah.
the lead in those wins, but yeah.
Like
I go ahead.
like this field just reeks of we couldn't fill this
Yeah.
race, so we begged trainers to put stuff in here.
No, I would agree. I think Skippy does, win. I mean, the 10. What do you think about the 10 furlongs though, Oldie?
I mean, first time 10 furlongs for Skippy as a 6-year-old.
Well, I
And the
know that.
GSR does go down, but done well at 9. I mean, I guess that's the question mark, but I just think Skippy is good enough here or so much better than these that it may not matter. Against, a better group, maybe 10 furlongs is too long.
Hmm. I
But
was looking at Tarantino, Oldie, just mainly because I think that horse probably getting the lead. Um. Hmm.
for me, it's either, if I were to use something underneath here, it would either be the 2 packs of Wallop or the 4 extensive.
Yeah, just the 4 lightly race, but all
Yeah,
right.
but they're all
I
pretty
mean,
gross.
yeah, I mean the one at least has some amount of gain of has shown the ability on the lead and versus classy horses, Oldie. I
Yeah,
mean, so that would be my upset play of Skippy. It would be the long shot, Oldie. I mean, I think Skippy going to be tough. I just think the question mark's the distance. That to me is concerning. The GSR drops 22 points, even from this horse is way classier, but is he going to have trouble at the distance? So,
and I'll also say the one horse I'm not questioning the distance on is the 3. I think the 3's on the lead. I think not the 1.
okay, yeah.
In my mind, I have distance. I don't think the 1 can get the distance. The
Yeah.
2's been doing this on turf, so that's a big question mark. Nobody else has that kind of form. I think it's probably the 3 who gets the lead, and maybe the angle we're not looking at is maybe the 3 gets brave on the lead.
Well, that's what my hope kind of on the 1 was, but I could see your comment that the 3 might get the lead, but yeah, it's for sure, and it makes it a little more intriguing when you look at the potential of Skippy wouldn't get the distance, but I do agree with you. It may not matter, right, versus some of
Yeah.
these. So, okay. All right. You're on Skippy. I'd say I probably agree with you. My upset would be the 1. Your upset's the 3 or the 4.
Yes, correct. 3.
Okay. We're going to one more on the turf. The 9th Oldie, the Shoemaker Mile Stakes. One more race sim for tonight. A lot of Goliad, big pace number. King of Gosford, Oldie, shows up with the gold badge, and then you have
Yes.
Formidable Man, who's the EE Morning Line favorite.
Yeah, and Formidable Man, I think, is formidable. I mean, won two of the last three grade ones that it's been in,
But only
including the
9%.
yeah,
That's concerning.
for
I
sure.
mean, there's the race sim, the 5 run 5th.
Yeah, I mean the five. I had the five and third here
Okay.
myself.
Where'd you land on top?
I landed with the three Seminole Chief on top, the long shot with Jack and his sister 10 with IRAD aboard, beat a group of 72s. But this is a big step up for this horse as well in terms of going into a grade one. But I think this horse is definitely a miler and, is on the improve as a 4-year-old here. What about you? Where did you land?
Well, I was a little bit confused only when I first looked with the 9, but I think there's too much speed. I don't. I mean, this horse for Papa Oldie with Mike Smith, like, just gets these huge leads. But you have, I think, Cabo Spirit with Frankie. There's other speed here,
Yeah.
right? And you know, I ended up landing on King of Gosford. Oldie, I mean, has hit the board in 11 of 16 and won the grade 2 back at Santa Anita in 66, won on the lead. But this horse has tactical speed. Flavian Pratt rides. Ran a good race here, close to the lead. I guess, I mean, here did run way off the pace. I mean, there is so much speed. So I think King of Gosford's gonna get first jump. I would expect Oldie on all of that speed. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe Flavian takes back a little bit more. I mean, I do like seeing the ability here to kind of come off, but that was way easier, right? But
Yeah.
has raced well in graded stakes in California's, won at Santa Anita going 8, ran well first off the layoff. Now they come into a grade 1. I mean, it's a big step up, but I mean, this is a nice horse. I mean, again, 1 9 of 11. They're going for that grade 1, which I always appreciate. Love to see it. So that's where I landed. Was on the 4.
All right. Um, Underneath, I used the one in second.
SEAL
And
team. Yeah.
my question is the distance here, but SEAL Team has a win over 72 SORs at 9 furlongs in the Twilight Derby. I think, with the speed that's in here, may get first run on all that speed here. And, I think JJ will have the horse in good position. It's just going to be whether the speed stops enough or whether the horse is good enough. And I think you're going to get a price here on that horse.
On SEAL team.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see the morning line at 9-1. This horse, what do you think? Probably morning line 8-10-1. It would be my
Yeah.
guess. Maybe 9-1. I mean, I would agree with you there. So, yeah, me, Hermano Ramon, it just reminds me, Oldie, we last weekend on the stretch run. I'm like, do you remember Ramon Razor? Or Razor
Razor
Ramon.
Ramon. Right?
Razor
Yeah.
Ramon, right? And I was like, it reminded me when I saw that. But me, Hermano Ramon, I mean, been facing tough, Oldie. I
Yeah.
mean, ran in the Pegasus. So that's where I landed on, the picks. You had Seminole Chief on top. I was 4-7-3 here. Me, Hermano Ramon done nothing wrong. I mean, 1-72 there at Del Mar, has the record at 8's the question, but that's where I landed underneath. But I like King of Gosford on top. So
Yeah. So I landed 3-1-5 here.
okay, now I'm 4-7-3. All right.
All right.
Well, that was fun, Oldie. We got through 15. Not bad. 15 stakes races, about 5 minutes each. And we got racing all the way from Saturday to Monday. Good racing this weekend. Santa Anita has a great card. We covered those state bred stakes on Saturday, and then obviously the 3 graded stakes here on Monday, and a little bit of others sprinkled in at the Big A and Churchill and Monmouth Park. But it's been fun. Any last words?
Just stretch run. We're going to be, I believe it's I want to say it's about 3:20 on Saturday, 3:30 on Saturday for the stretch run. Justin and I will be doing Gulfstream, Santa Anita, and Monmouth, and pretty much the tracks we mostly covered today. So tune in for that. We appreciate it, and thank you for spending your Thursday night with us.
All right, everybody. We're back Saturday. Oldy, is Scotty and David doing NHC tomorrow?
They are not. No, Scotty
Okay.
wasn't able to.
Okay. So we, Oldy and I will be back on Saturday with more coverage from EquinEdge. Thanks for everybody being here. We'll see you all soon for the stretch run. Good luck. Have fun tomorrow.